I don't know whether it's appropriate to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's good to be here. This has been long overdue. This has been long overdue. This is about a tragedy, and it's a shame that I have to say that it's good to be here. We remember those days. Those were not easy days. We knew something like that was going to happen. We'd been warned about it publicly, which I learned later on. The police knew that there was violence afoot. People had been attacked. Writers had been attacked. Activists had been attacked. Threats had been mailed to people. They'd been pushed through their mail slots, left on their telephone answering machines. Remember those things from old days? And I had become the victim of violence, and I wrote to every Attorney General in British Columbia, every Attorney General of the country, including in British Columbia, the Prime Minister of the country, the Attorney General of the country. I wrote back in April of 1985, and I can't remember the words. The letter is somewhere in the UBC archives. But I do remember saying, if you don't do anything, there's going to be violence in this society. We're going to have people dead. We're going to have murders. Nothing was done. And I have said it many times, it was because the rest of us in Canada thought it was brown people fighting brown people, some with turbans, other without turbans, some with beards, other without beards. It wasn't affecting the larger society, so nobody really cared. People who, the police officer, the liaison, members of the liaison unit within the Indo-Canadian community, some other police officers, some politicians, rare, like my friend Ian Waddell, and in fact, a friend from the Social Credit, Peter Heinemann, and others. They spoke up. Many spoke up. But in the larger society, generally people didn't speak up. When Air India happened, there was total puzzlement. And I don't need to tell you the stories, but all I'm going to say is that I'm glad that you are doing what you're doing, demanding a place of education about Air India. Air India is not just about terrorism. It is apart from the 9/11, this is the largest aviation terror in the history of the world. Not just in the history of Canada, in the history of the world. And Canada has been sleeping about it, generally speaking. Canadian politicians have been speaking about it. And it's not going to be easy, I hope it is, easy to establish a learning center. It is not going to be easy because it is going to have the names and the photographs of the accused, of those suspects, the names, the figures, how many died. And it's not easy because there are some in the political class, not all, many are good people. There are some in the political class who have dared not speak about this issue, who dare not speak about extremism, who dare not speak about violence and violent images being displayed right in front of them. And, even the police officers are generally silent when you have AK-47s staring at you from, of all places, temples. AK-47 staring at you from the temples. And the politicians say nothing. And the police do nothing. That is not, I suppose, a hate speech. And no prosecutor and no police officer has dared take that to the court as hate speech crime. And why haven't they? It's not always because you might get a conviction that you take cases to court. Sometimes you take cases to court to make an example of what we shall not tolerate in this society. And the prosecutors, the police, the politicians, the attorneys general haven't had the gumption to do that. And therefore, I say to you, good luck. We should work together, create a learning center here in British Columbia, and perhaps one in Toronto. There were a lot of people from back east. It's a national tragedy. It's not just a British Columbia tragedy, and it is not just a tragedy of brown people. It is a Canadian tragedy of Canadian people. And my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren might stand up one day and say, my ancestors weren't treated properly, weren't treated equally. We're paying for what we have done to others before us. We're paying dearly for what we've done to the First Nations, what we did to the Chinese and the Indians with the Exclusion Acts and the Kamagata Maru and the head taxes and all of that. We're paying for that. And if we don't take steps against terrorism, against extremism, against hate in this society, being openly preached inside religious institutions, if we don't do anything, I'm afraid there might be another Air India by another name at some point. Because if we don't stop it, we are then destined to repeat it. Thank you very much.